They've literally advocated themselves out of their excuse, because at least before they could say, well, the BMI is flawed, or the BMI is this, or the BMI is that. They don't have that anymore. Now it's literally a tape measure around your waist. How are you going to get out of that one? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am so excited to have you all back here with me again this week. If you are new here and this is the first time you are seeing my face, welcome. My name is Sam and I make weekly videos dissecting internet nonsense, so if you're into that type of thing or you like today's video, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel and make sure you never miss another video from me. Now, we've been gathering here together on Mondays for quite some time, and over the course of our interactions, we've come here together and seen many a fat activist just outright lying on their platform, or worse, in my opinion, stating facts without citing a single source. And as a history nerd, you all know, if you've been here long enough, that that is my biggest pet peeve. I want people to leave me sources, like footnotes, whatever they gotta do. Leave me a breadcrumb trail to follow where you're going and pick up what you're putting down.
Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Today, I want to talk to you about a creator who is known for not being so outright with her nonsense, and that is a rarity within the fat acceptance movement, as we all know by now. This creator has a tendency to sort of flirt with the truth, and she does this by choosing to cite sources and data and research. Sometimes citing too many sources, which can be a problem, and as we'll see, even though there are sources and source material, most of the time, she's not representing it very accurately. Her name is Christine, but she goes by Mighty Murphin Fashion Ranger on social media, or mmfr for short. She describes herself on her Linktree as a queer, mid-30s wife who is a fat liberation and neurodiversity advocate. Her content tends to focus very heavily on plus-size fashion, where she discusses why brands should not charge more for plus-size clothing and how stores should carry sizes all the way up to a 9X. She's also known for inserting herself into TikTok drama and responding to the haters in her comment section. Though I find this creator to be much nicer than her peers, such as Marissa Matthews, she definitely gives Marissa vibes by continuing to do that same style of content where they're responding to these hate comments in an effort to educate people. The thing is, though, she honestly believes that she has armed herself to the teeth with research and data and the sources that she will cite. She honestly believes that when she comes online and says the things that she does, that there's no argument. She is so backed up and she has so much research that she can shut down anyone who may dare disagree with her.
It's so confusing to me, especially because this person follows me. So, like, if you have followed me, you know that I don't just, like, say things to say things. If I'm saying something publicly on the internet, that means that it is not something that cannot be backed up times, like, 12.
And while I appreciate her efforts to cite her sources and prove that she's done her research, this video that I just showed you a small snippet of caught my attention right away because you can see she's put the research behind her own head as she's talking. And that's because not only is she about to walk through it, right, to try to shut someone down, she's doing this in an effort to scare other people away and prove herself right. No one can argue with me. I am correct. This is the data. That's essentially the layout of this video. But as she walks you through, she does not represent the data that she's showing, even behind her head, with 100% accuracy. Let's keep watching this video and I will show you what I mean.
This study determined that the average American woman wears between a size 16 and 18. Just because you do not see a lot of plus size people in whatever town that you live in does not mean that millions of American women are not plus size. Like, you are going to have a very limited view just based on your perspective. That's kind of how perspective works. And again, because I know people are going to argue like, well, the stat that you threw out said 70%. 70%. This is a study that was done by Plunkett Research. This is a Googleable thing. You can go look it up. It's out there. Again, this same study is cited multiple places. This is not just like a one-off thing. This is published research, people.
Okay, so her first talking point that she uses frequently on her platform is that 70% of women in the United States wear a size 16 to 18. But even as she's saying that, if you look at the two pieces of evidence that she's showing in this video, the stat actually shows that 70% of women wear a size 14 or larger. So there's just a little bit of discrepancy there between the things she's saying, right, a 16 to 18, and what the data is actually showing, which is a size 14 or larger. But what I find most interesting, again, because I am a nerd and I chose to follow the breadcrumb trail of citations that she left for me, what you can see is that the research she's putting behind her is from 2017. And when I Googled that second statistic about the 70% thing that she was saying, she's right. I did find the article, and it does say 70% of women are a size 14 or larger. But there's one thing that's missing in this conversation, and that she's conveniently leaving out, in my opinion, and that is that Dia and Co. statistic is again from 2017. I scrolled just a bit more on this exact same search. I didn't have to use any new keywords. It was exactly this search. And I found an article from 2024. And that research, which is newer, it was done in March of this year, shows that there's actually been a drop in the women who are wearing a size 14 or larger. It's dropped about 3%, and research is now showing that 67% of women are wearing a size 14 or larger. And I feel like this is just me being nitpicky because I don't like when we're misrepresenting data. But what we're going to find is that this is a trend on her channel. She'll just kind of conveniently leave things out when it suits her. Let me show you why, in particular, I think that this is problematic when it comes to this statistic. You see, due to the work that I do here on the channel, her content actually pops up quite a bit on my For You page, probably because I keep watching it, but I've never chosen to talk about her here on the channel before, again, because it's not outright nonsense the way we're seeing other fat activists approach their platforms. But she's often advocating for sizes 3X and larger, and she does so, she's admitted, because she wears a size 3X/4X.
So I was a 3X for most of my life, and then when I had my son back in 2017, like, my bottom half got a little bit larger. And I remember before that happened, like, thinking to myself, what happens if I gain more weight? Like, I didn't realize, like, before I had TikTok, before I really found plus size women talking about fashion on the internet, so like prior to like probably 2016, I remember being like, if I gain more weight, I don't know if I will have access to clothing, because I just honestly didn't know that sizes over 3X existed, because that's all I ever saw in store, right?
I guess it's noble of her to advocate for stores to carry sizes that are larger than what she needs. She can do that with her platform as she chooses. It's what she's already doing. But for me, to advocate for a size 3X using the statistic that she does about 70% of women wearing a size 16 to 18, it's just a little bit confusing. And I'm going to show you what I mean by focusing in on her talking specifically about Target and their sizing.
So let's first of all clear up that Target only goes up to a 4X generally. And that is in their plus size section. Some of their lines now stop at like an extra large. I know in my store, I can only shop in store their Ava and Viv collection. They don't carry any of their other lines in store up to a 4X. Their other lines only go up to an extra, extra large in store. So I'm just correcting you where you're spreading misinformation.
Okay, so she specifically named a clothing line through Target called Ava and Viv. So I'm going to pull up their sizing chart so we can look at it together. Here we can see that she's saying that this line goes up to an XXL in stores. And I'd like to point out that this is a size 17, which means by her own statistic, her store is carrying clothing that would fit the majority of US women, which she cites are wearing a size 14 to 18. And if you remember our recent conversations about Tess Holliday, where she was proving she's a size 24, she used another Target brand called Wild Fable. And if we look at their size chart, we can see that again, an XL to a 1X is where the majority of women will find their clothing. Okay, so Target only sizes up to a size 17 in most stores. According to her, we're just going to run with that. I know some are probably going a little bit higher with their lines. But she's often basing this argument on the fact that there's not enough plus size clothing, so the majority of people are going without. And the reason she has a problem with this is that she views clothing as a basic human necessity. I'm not here to argue that, but because that's her line of thinking, what I want to do is look at plus sizes at Walmart. Because if you're poor, if you live in a rural community, I'm not saying those are mutually exclusive. If you've been on a trip and you have forgotten something last minute, a majority of people who live in the US have stepped foot into a Walmart. So I want to look and see what they have for plus size people. One of their plus size brands, Terra and Sky, sells in stores up to a 5X, which is a size 30/32. The 70% majority of plus size women will find that Walmart sells their sizes, with a 14 being a size large and an 18 being in size extra large. So, as we can see, it's not accurate for her to imply that a majority of women cannot find plus size clothing in stores. I think this whole thing would bother me less if she would just admit that she does not care that the people who wear a size 3X or larger are in a minority. She can still advocate for brands to carry 3X and larger in their clothing selections. That's her prerogative. It's her platform. She can advocate for whatever she wants to advocate for. But in my opinion, it's disingenuous for her to advocate for that by equating the statistic that 70% of women wear a size 14 or larger to say 70% of women are wearing a 3X or larger, because it's not true. And what she's doing is making it look like anyone who wears a size 14 or up cannot find clothing in stores, which is simply not true. And as I said earlier, we're going to keep seeing this style of flirting with the truth and not accurately representing data, kind of picking the points that we need to make our talking points stick, because it is a trend for her. So I'm going to show you another example. So we can see here that she's responding to a comment where someone has said, but when people lose weight, they often come off their medications and start to have better health outcomes. And her first rebuttal to this comment is to say that in 2023, the American Medical Association, or AMA, asked physicians to stop using the BMI. And we've talked about BMI extensively on this channel, so I'm not going to get in too deep here because we could be here all day. But what I will do is try to remember to link that video down below so you can check it out if you want. But I really want to focus on whether or not this is true. So as you probably guessed, I Googled it. And what I found was the AMA did not ask them to stop using BMI, but rather to use it in conjunction with other tools such as measurements of visceral fat, waist to height ratio, body adiposity index, waist circumference measurements, and more, because these will help strengthen the predictability of BMI and conversations about weight on an individual level. So once again, we can see she's only selected the bits and pieces that she wants and sharing them as a truth, which is almost the definition of misinformation. She's literally just pushed this out where her followers can see it, basically telling them to celebrate the fact that the BMI is no more, which they will rejoice because they hate the BMI, but she has done so without telling them that there are now these other measures that are going to be put in place, which are maybe even worse than the BMI. The other thing I've seen about this, where I'm like, this is not a win. I saw a doctor post on TikTok about the new name they're considering for the tool that will replace the BMI. You saw that correctly. They're considering naming it the Body Roundness Index.
I got a blueberry for a daughter.
They took away their own easy excuses about BMI being flawed. And it wasn't that long ago that we were just here talking about something so similar, where Jordan Underwood was expressing his frustration about a health at every size and weight neutral doctor who was not helping him get a diagnosis, even though his medical condition was out of control. The very thing that he had advocated for was actually harmful to him. I'm guessing we're going to start hearing similar complaints online when doctors actually start to break out those tape measures. And we're going to have to remind them, this is what you advocated for. All right, that is all I have for you all today. At this point, I am so curious to know what you think. Have you seen this creator on TikTok in the wild? What do you think about them cherry picking data? What do you think about her conflating the research about women who wear a size 14 and plus with women who wear a size 3X and up? And finally, what do you think about the replacement for the BMI? I am genuinely so curious to know, because I laughed out loud when I read that they were thinking about naming it the Body Roundness Index, because I'm sure that our fat activist friends are going to be so happy about that. But honestly, what do you think about the way that they are advocating themselves out of excuses, and or advocating for things that are potentially more harmful than the previous thing, as we've now seen with Jordan and this creator? Please let me know what you think, because I love reading your opinions and I will be checking them out shortly after this video goes up. So please leave them for me in the comments section down below. And for all my introvert friends out there who may not feel comfortable leaving your opinion in an internet comment section, I see you, I feel you. Go ahead and leave me a blueberry emoji this week, because I genuinely forgot how much I love the original Willy Wonka movie until I found that clip for this video. So please leave your blueberries for me. I love seeing your emojis just as much as I love reading those opinions. As always, thank you all so much for being here with me this week. I will see you in the next one. Bye.